Han-Ta moved silently through the dense forest. The night was dark, but his eyes had adjusted well. As a lieutenant in South Korea's Special Forces, he had trained for missions like this one. His job tonight was simple: reach the target location, gather intel, and leave without being seen. Rain fell softly on the leaves above him. Han checked his watch. 2 hours until extraction. Plenty of time. He pulled out his small binoculars and scanned the area ahead. Nothing but trees and darkness. Then he felt it, a strange vibration in the air. Han froze, his training kicking in. Something wasn't right. The forest had gone completely silent. No insects chirping, no birds, nothing. A blue light flashed somewhere above the trees. Han looked up but saw only glimpses of the light through the thick canopy. His radio crackled with static. "Base, this is Lion 1. I'm picking up strange activity at my location. Request." The radio went dead. Han tapped it twice, but nothing happened. All his equipment had stopped working. Even his watch had frozen. "Unusual specimen," a voice said from behind him. It didn't sound human. Han spun around, reaching for his sidearm, but his body wouldn't respond. He couldn't move a muscle. His eyes darted frantically, the only part of him still under his control. 3 tall figures stepped into his field of vision. They were at least 7 feet tall, with grayish-blue skin that seemed to shimmer in the darkness. Their eyes were large and black, and they had no visible mouths. They wore what looked like armor made of some metallic material. "Physical condition optimal," one of them said, though Han couldn't tell which one. The voice seemed to come from everywhere at once. "Combat training extensive. Psychological profile indicates high resilience and adaptability. The ideal candidate." Another voice agreed. "The council will be pleased." One of the tall beings approached Han. It held up a small device that glowed with the same blue light he had seen earlier. "We apologize for the inconvenience, Lieutenant Han-Ta," the being said. "Your contribution to the advancement of the Terral Empire will be noted, though you will not remember it." Han tried to scream, to move, to do anything, but his body remained frozen in place. The tall being pressed the device against his neck. A sharp pain shot through him, and then numbness spread across his body. "DNA sample acquired," the being announced. Memory suppression protocol initiated. Through his fading consciousness, Han felt himself being lifted off the ground. The trees seemed to fall away beneath him as he rose higher and higher. A bright light engulfed him, and then darkness. General Dae slammed his fist on the table. "What do you mean? He doesn't remember anything." "Lieutenant Han is one of our best men." The doctor looked uncomfortable. "Sir, he was found at the extraction point exactly on schedule. Physically, he's fine. All his vital signs are normal, but he has no memory of the mission. The last thing he remembers is preparing for deployment." "That's impossible," the general said. "Something happened out there." "There's something else, sir," the doctor added. "We found this strange mark on his neck." She handed the general a photograph showing a small, perfectly circular mark on Han's skin. "Have you seen anything like this before?" the general asked. The doctor shook her head. "No, sir. It's not a burn or an injection site. We can't explain it." Miles above Earth, the Terral mothership moved silently through space. In the ship's laboratory, 3 scientists gathered around a small container. "The human DNA is secure," the lead scientist Rill said. "Begin analysis immediately. The military council expects results." "How long until we can start the cloning process?" asked another scientist. Rill looked at the container, which glowed with a soft blue light. 2 of your Earth years. We must understand every aspect of this human's genetic makeup before we attempt replication." "And the human himself?" the third scientist asked. "He will continue his life, unaware of our existence or his contribution to our cause," Rill replied. "By the time he learns the truth, it will be too late for his kind." The mothership's engines hummed to life, and the massive vessel disappeared into the darkness of space, carrying with it the future of humanity. 2 years passed quickly aboard the Terrell Research Station, Nexus 7. The massive ring-shaped structure orbited a distant red star, far from Earth and prying eyes. Inside the station's main laboratory, lead scientist Rill made final adjustments to his presentation. Today was important. The military council would see the results of his team's work. 2 years of studying human DNA. 2 years of careful planning and testing. 2 years of failure and success. And now, finally, they had something to show. The doors slid open with a soft hiss. 5 tall Terrell in gleaming armor entered the lab. Each wore the red insignia of the High Command. Esteemed members of the council, Rill began, bowing deeply. Thank you for honoring us with your presence. General Vol, the tallest of the 5, stepped forward. His black eyes reflected the blue lights of the lab. Skip the formalities, Scientist Rill. Show us what our resources have purchased. Rill nodded and pressed a button on his wrist device. The center of the lab floor opened, and a large cylinder rose from below. Inside the cylinder, floating in clear liquid, was a human male. I present to you specimen K1, Rill announced proudly. A perfect genetic copy of the human warrior Lieutenant Hanta. The council members moved closer to the cylinder, studying the floating figure inside. The human appeared to be sleeping peacefully, his chest rising and falling with slow breaths. He looks ordinary, said one council member with disappointment in her voice. Rill smiled. Appearances can be deceiving, Council Member Tez. This clone has been enhanced in several important ways. His muscle density is triple that of a normal human. His bones are reinforced with our biometal compound. His reflexes have been accelerated by 40%. General Vos circled the cylinder slowly. And the mind? Did you address the weaknesses we discussed? Of course, Rill replied. We have suppressed the emotional centers responsible for empathy, fear, and independent thinking. K1 will be a perfect soldier, loyal, fearless, and deadly. Another scientist stepped forward. This was Park Min, Rill's assistant and genetic specialist. We have also enhanced his learning capabilities. He will absorb combat training 5 times faster than a normal human. When can we see him in action? General Vos asked. Rill checked his datapad. The final growth acceleration cycle completes today. We can begin the awakening process immediately if the council wishes. General Vos nodded. Proceed. Rill turned to a young female Terrell standing quietly in the corner. Kim Ju, prepare the awakening sequence. Kim Ju bowed and moved to a control panel. Her fingers danced across the glowing surface. The liquid in the cylinder began to drain. Kim Ju will be responsible for monitoring K1's progress, Rill explained. She has studied human psychology extensively and will report directly to me. As the liquid level dropped, the human's body was slowly revealed. He was muscular, but not overly so. His black hair was cut short in military style. When the liquid fully drained, medical arms extended from the sides of the cylinder. They attached monitors to the human's chest, arms, and head. Begin consciousness activation, Rill ordered. Kim Ju pressed a sequence of buttons. The human's body jerked slightly. His eyes remained closed, but his fingers twitched. If this specimen proves successful, General Vos said, how quickly can you produce more? With the template perfected, we could grow 100 within 3 months, Park Min answered. 1,000 within a year. Excellent, General Vos said. The Terrell Empire has many enemies. An army of enhanced human warriors would give us a significant advantage. The monitors showed increasing brain activity. The human's eyes began to move beneath closed lids. He's entering consciousness, Kim Ju reported. Vital signs are stable. When he wakes, General Vos said, he will know nothing of Earth. No loyalty to his home planet. None, Rill assured him. K1 will know only what we teach him. He will be a blank slate, ready to serve the Empire. As the Terrell spoke, no one noticed the small twitch at the corner of the human's mouth, nor did they see his right hand slowly curl into a fist, then relax. Inside the cylinder, K1 began to dream of a place he had never been. A forest, rain on leaves, and a strange feeling that something important had been taken from him. The first thing K1 felt was cold. His skin prickled as air touched it for the first time. His lungs burned as they filled with oxygen instead of liquid. His eyes remained closed, but he could sense bright lights above him. Brain activity increasing. A soft voice said nearby. Heart rate stable. He should be conscious within moments. K1 listened carefully. The voice was female, but strange. Not quite human? That thought confused him. Why would he expect a human voice? What was human? He opened his eyes slowly. Light flooded in, making him blink rapidly. Shapes began to form. Tall, blue-gray figures stood around him. Their large black eyes watched him with interest. Specimen K1, said one of the figures. Can you understand me? K1 found his voice. Yes. The word felt strange in his mouth, as if he hadn't spoken in a long time, or ever. Excellent, the figure said. I am Scientist Rill. You are aboard the Terrell Research Station, Nexus 7. You have been created to serve the Terrell Empire. Created. The word echoed in K1's mind. Not born. Created. Stand, K1, Rill commanded. K1 moved his limbs carefully. His body felt strong but unfamiliar. He swung his legs over the edge of the platform he had been lying on and stood up. His balance was perfect. He looked down at his naked body, noting the strange blue markings that ran along his arms. Provide him with clothing, General Valls ordered. A smaller Terrell approached with a black uniform. K1 took it and dressed himself without being told how. The movements came naturally to him, though he had no memory of ever wearing clothes before. Remarkable, Park Min said, studying K1 closely. He moves with confidence already. The muscle memory programming was successful. K1 looked around the laboratory, taking in every detail. His eyes lingered on the exit doors, the control panels, the weapons the Terrell guards carried. He didn't know why, but he was mapping the room, identifying threats and escape routes. What am I? K1 asked. The Terrell exchanged glances. You are a warrior, Rill answered. The first of a new breed of soldiers that will help expand the Terrell Empire across the galaxy. K1 nodded as if accepting this, but inside his mind, questions multiplied. Why did he feel this wasn't the whole truth? Why did certain words, Earth, human, home, keep floating through his thoughts? Kim Ju will be your handler, Rill continued, gesturing to a female Terrell who stood slightly apart from the others. She was smaller than the rest, with lighter skin and gentler eyes. Kim Ju stepped forward. I will help you adjust and learn, K1. We will begin your training immediately. The Council expects a demonstration of combat capabilities within 7 days, General Valls said sternly. Do not disappoint us, Scientist Rill. The Council members turned and exited the laboratory, leaving K1 with the scientists and guards. Follow me, Kim Ju said to K1. I will show you to your quarters. As they walked through the corridors of the station, K1 observed everything. The Terrell they passed stopped to stare at him. Some looked curious, others fearful. They've never seen a human before, Kim Ju explained, noticing his awareness. Human, K1 repeated. The word felt right in his mouth. Kim Ju looked at him sharply. You are based on human genetics, but you are more than human. You are improved. They reached a small room with a bed, desk, and washing facility. You will stay here when not training, Kim Ju said. Rest now. Tomorrow we begin combat simulations. After she left, K1 sat on the edge of the bed. He looked at his hands, turning them over. These hands knew things his mind didn't remember. They knew how to fight, how to survive. He walked to the small mirror on the wall and studied his face. Black hair, brown eyes, a face that seemed both familiar and strange. "Who am I?" he whispered to his reflection. In his mind, he heard a name, not K1, but Han. The name felt like a secret, something precious he needed to protect. He didn't know why, but he knew one thing for certain. He wouldn't tell the Tyrell about it. K1 smiled at his reflection. It was a small, private smile, his first act of rebellion. Kim Ju stared at her screen, checking the data for the 5th time. It couldn't be right. The brain scans from K1's latest training session showed activity in areas that should be dormant. According to the programming, the emotional centers of his brain should show minimal activity. But there they were, bright spots of color on her screen showing high activity in regions related to empathy, memory, and independent thought. 3 weeks had passed since K1's awakening. His combat training had impressed everyone, even General Vaugh. K1 mastered weapons in days that took Tyrell soldiers months to learn. His fighting skills were exceptional. But something wasn't right. Kim Ju closed the file when she heard footsteps approaching her lab. Park Min entered, his tall figure casting a shadow over her workstation. "Any unusual findings?" he asked. Kim Ju hesitated. She should report the brain activity. That was her job, but something made her pause. "Nothing significant," she lied. "His physical abilities continue to exceed expectations." Park Min nodded. "Good. Rill wants more combat simulations, higher difficulty levels. We need to push him to his limits." After Park Min left, Kim Ju sat quietly for a moment. Then she made a decision. She needed to talk to K1 alone. Later that night, when the research level was nearly empty, Kim Ju entered K1's quarters. He was sitting on his bed, eyes closed as if meditating. He opened them as soon as she entered. "Kim Ju," he said, "it's late. I need to ask you something," she said, closing the door behind her. "Something important." K1 watched her with those calm, brown eyes that seemed to see through her. "You're different from what we expected," she said. "Your brain shows activity that shouldn't be possible." K1's face remained neutral, but his eyes sharpened. "What do you mean?" "The emotional suppression. It's not working properly." Kim Ju moved closer. "You feel things, don't you? Things you're not supposed to feel." For a long moment, K1 said nothing. Then, "Why haven't you told the others?" It was a good question. Why was she keeping his secret? Kim Ju wasn't sure herself. "I don't know," she admitted. "Maybe because I'm curious. Maybe because—" She stopped, unsure how to continue. "Because you don't fully support what they're doing," K1 finished for her. Kim Ju looked shocked. "How did you know that?" "I watch. I listen. I see how you look at Rill and the others when they talk about using me as a template for an army." Kim Ju sat beside him, keeping her voice low. "What else do you feel? What do you remember?" K1's face softened. "I see things when I sleep. A forest, rain, a mission, and I hear a name." "What name?" "Han," he whispered. "My name is Han." Kim Ju's eyes widened. "That's impossible. The memory suppression didn't work." K1. "No," Han said. "Not completely. The memories are broken, like pieces of glass. But they're there." "This is dangerous," Kim Ju said. "If they discover you remember, they'll terminate me," Han finished calmly. "I know." Kim Ju stood and paced the small room. "I need to think about this. If I help you, you'd be betraying your people," Han said. Kim Ju stopped pacing. "Maybe. Or maybe I'd be doing what's right." She turned to face him. "They want to use you to make an army. An army that will eventually attack Earth." Han's eyes hardened. "Earth, my home." "Yes. The DNA they used to create you came from a human soldier, Lieutenant Han Ta. They took it without permission." Han stood up. He was taller than Kim Ju, his human frame powerful and graceful. "Show me," he said. Show me everything you know about Earth, about Han Ta, about myself. Kim Ju hesitated only briefly before nodding. I will. But we must be careful. Ril and Park Min can never know. They won't, Han promised. I've gotten very good at pretending to be what they want me to be. As Kim Ju prepared to leave, Han stopped her with a question. Why are you helping me? Kim Ju thought for a moment. Because you're a person, not a weapon. And because what we're doing to your kind, it isn't right. Han nodded, a small smile on his lips. Thank you. After Kim Ju left, Han lay on his bed, staring at the ceiling. More memories were coming back each day, and with them, a growing determination. He wasn't just a clone. He wasn't just a weapon. He was human. And somehow, some way, he would protect his home. Begin simulation level 8. Ril commanded from the observation deck. Below, Han stood in the center of the large training room. He wore a black training suit with blue lines that monitored his vital signs. The room was empty now, but he knew that would change soon. The walls shimmered, and suddenly Han found himself in what looked like a ruined city. Broken buildings rose around him. Smoke filled the air. It wasn't real, just a very good hologram, but it felt real enough. Your objective is to eliminate all targets and reach the extraction point, Ril's voice announced over the speakers. This is the highest difficulty level any Terral soldier has attempted. You have 10 minutes. Han nodded, his face showing no emotion. Inside, though, he was focused and ready. The past month of training had taught him much about his new body's capabilities. He was stronger and faster than any human had a right to be. But more importantly, his mind worked differently now. Faster, sharper, with perfect recall of everything he saw or heard. A red dot appeared on his wrist display. Enemies approaching. Han moved quickly, taking cover behind a fallen wall. 3 combat drones appeared, each shaped like a Terral, but with glowing red eyes. They carried plasma weapons that could stun him if he wasn't careful. Han waited until they separated, then struck. He moved with incredible speed, disabling the first drone before it could react. The second fired at him, but Han was already moving. He jumped higher than any normal human could, landing behind the drone and deactivating it with a precise strike to its control panel. The third drone called for backup. Han smiled. Good. He wanted more challenge. From the observation deck, General Vos watched with growing excitement. Magnificent, he said. Look at his tactical awareness. He doesn't just react, he anticipates. Ril nodded, pride evident in his posture. The enhancements have worked perfectly. Park Min watched more carefully. Perhaps too perfectly, he muttered, but not loudly enough for the others to hear. Back in the simulation, Han now faced 8 drones. They had surrounded him in the town square, weapons ready. In a normal training exercise, a Terral soldier would fight them one by one, using superior strength and armor. Han did something different. What is he doing? Ril asked, leaning forward. Han had put down his weapon. He raised his hands, appearing to surrender. 2 drones approached cautiously. When they were close enough, Han moved with blinding speed. He grabbed one drone and threw it into the other, then rolled forward to grab his weapon. Instead of shooting the remaining drones, he fired at the building beside them. Debris fell, disabling 3 more drones. That's not standard Terral combat doctrine, General Vos said, his black eyes narrowed. Where did he learn that strategy? No one had an answer. Han continued through the simulation, showing not just fighting skill but creative problem-solving. When faced with a barrier, he reprogrammed a damaged drone to help him breach it. When outnumbered, he used the environment as a weapon. Most surprising of all, when he found a simulated civilian in danger, he went out of his way to protect it, something not in his programming. Time. Ril announced as Han reached the extraction point. 9 minutes, 12 seconds. A new record. Han's face showed no pride, only calm acceptance. But inside, he felt satisfaction. Every training session taught him more about his capabilities. Every simulation showed him what he could do when the time came to escape. Impressive work, K1. General Voss said over the speaker. You have exceeded our expectations. Thank you, General, Han replied obediently. As the simulation ended and the room returned to its plain white walls, Kim Ju entered with a datapad. I need to run some tests, she said to the guards. Standard procedure after high-intensity training. The guards nodded and let her approach Han. Well done, she said loudly for the benefit of the observers. Then, in a whisper only Han could hear, they're moving up the timeline. General Voss wants to begin the next phase of cloning within a month. Han's face remained neutral, but his eyes met hers with understanding. Their time was running out. I'll be ready for more tests tomorrow, he said clearly, for anyone listening. What he didn't say, what he couldn't say aloud, was that their plan needed to move faster. Soon, very soon, he would need to make his move. In the observation room, Park Min watched the interaction between Kim Ju and K1 with growing suspicion. Han sat in the small maintenance room deep in the lower levels of the station. Kim Ju had found this place, a forgotten storage area not covered by security cameras. They met here when they needed to talk freely. The cloning chambers are being prepared, Kim Ju said. Her voice was tight with worry. They've already taken more samples from you. Soon they'll have what they need to create more like you. Han nodded. He had felt them taking tissue samples during his last medical exam. How many can they make at once? 50 in the first batch. After that, hundreds. Kim Ju pulled out a small datapad. I've been gathering information. The clones would be less advanced than you, less independent, but still deadly. An army to attack Earth, Han said, his voice flat. Yes. First, they'll target military bases, then centers of government. Kim Ju looked down. My people have conquered 12 worlds this way. Earth would be 13. Han stood and paced the small room. We need to move soon, but I can't do it alone. You have me, Kim Ju said. I need more help. And a ship. Kim Ju hesitated. There might be someone. An engineer named Lee Song. He maintains the scout ships. He's different from most Terrell. His family came from one of the conquered worlds. He doesn't support the Empire's wars. Can you arrange a meeting? Kim Ju nodded. I'll try. 2 days later, Han was cleaning training equipment when a Terrell in a gray uniform approached. He was shorter than most Terrell, with darker blue skin. You missed a spot, the Terrell said quietly, pointing to a corner of the training room. Han recognized the code phrase Kim Ju had told him to expect. Thank you. I'll fix that right away. The Terrell, Lee Song, moved closer, pretending to inspect the equipment. Kim Ju told me about you, about what you remember. Can you help us? Han asked, keeping his voice low. Perhaps. I have access to the ships, but security is tight. Lee Song glanced around nervously. What exactly do you plan to do? Escape. Stop the cloning program. Warn Earth. Lee Song's black eyes widened. Ambitious and dangerous. Do you have a better idea? Han asked. No. Lee Song was quiet for a moment. There's a research vessel scheduled for maintenance in 5 days. It's small but faster than most scout ships. I could arrange for it to be ready. We'll need a distraction, Han said. Something big enough to draw security away from the hangar. Lee Song thought for a moment. The cloning facility. If something were to happen there. Han nodded slowly. Yes, that would work. This is treason, Lee Song said, his voice barely audible. If we're caught. We'll die anyway, Han finished. I'm a prototype. Once they have what they need from me, I'm disposable. And you? Those who question the Empire rarely live long, Lee Song admitted. Then we have nothing to lose. Lee Song studied Han's face. You're not what they think you are you? Not just a weapon. No, Han said. I'm more. And less. I'm human. For the first time, Li Song smiled. Then let's see what a human can do. Over the next few days, Han continued his training. He excelled in every test, making sure to impress General Vols and Rill. The more they trusted him, the more freedom he gained. But Han did something else too. He talked to people. The Terrell guards who watched him, the medical staff who ran tests, the service workers who brought his meals. He asked questions, showed interest in their lives. He remembered their names, their stories. This wasn't part of his programming. The Terrell scientists had never expected him to care about others. But Han understood something the Terrell didn't. People help those who see them as people. By the fourth day, many of the lower-ranking Terrell had stopped seeing him as just an experiment. They greeted him by name. Some even shared small bits of information that might help his escape. "What are you doing?" Kim Ju asked when she noticed how he interacted with the others. "Building allies," Han replied. "The most powerful human trait isn't our strength or speed." "What is it then?" Han smiled. "Our ability to connect, to turn enemies into friends." Kim Ju looked thoughtful. "A strange kind of weapon." "The best kind," Han said. "The kind your scientists never thought to program against." As the day of their planned escape approached, Han felt both ready and uncertain. Their plan had many risks, but as he lay in his bed that night, remembering more bits of his life as Han Ta, he knew one thing for certain. He was going home. The night before their planned escape, Han couldn't sleep. Tomorrow everything would change. He would either be free or dead. There was no middle ground. A soft beep from his door made him sit up. It was past midnight. No one should be visiting him now. Han tensed, ready for trouble. The door slid open. Park Min stood there, his tall frame filling the doorway. Behind him were two armed guards. "K1," Park Min said coldly. "Or should I call you Han?" Han's heart sank. They knew. Somehow, they knew. But he kept his face calm, showing nothing. "I don't understand," he said. Park Min stepped into the room. "Don't play games with me. I've been watching you. Your brain scans show activity where there should be none. You've been meeting with Kim Ju in secret. Did you think security wouldn't notice?" Han said nothing. His mind raced, calculating options, escape routes. The odds weren't good. "Where is Kim Ju?" he asked finally. Park Min smiled, but it wasn't a kind smile. "She's been arrested. She's being questioned right now." Han felt a cold anger rise inside him. He stood slowly, his eyes never leaving Park Min's face. The guards raised their weapons. "You don't know what you're doing," Han said quietly. "The cloning program is wrong. Creating an army to attack my homeworld is wrong." "Wrong?" Park Min laughed. "What do you know of right and wrong? You're a weapon, not a person. You were created in a lab. Yet here I am, talking about ethics while you defend slavery and invasion," Han replied. Park Min's face hardened. "Enough. General Vols wanted you brought in alive, but I've convinced him we've learned all we can from you. The next batch of clones will be more compliant." Park Min raised his hand, and the guard stepped forward with restraints. "Wait," Park Min said suddenly. His voice changed, becoming lower, more confidential. "Unless we could work together, you and I." Han frowned. "What do you mean?" "I have concerns about this project too," Park Min said quietly. "About General Vo's plans. Perhaps we could find a middle path. One that doesn't require invasion." Han studied Park Min's face. Was this a trick? A test? Or was the scientist actually offering help? "What about Kim Ju?" Han asked cautiously. "I could help her too," Park Min said. "If we work together." For a moment, hope flickered in Han's chest. Then he saw it, the slight twitch at the corner of Park Min's eye. A tell, a sign of lying. This was a trap. "I think we could find common ground," Han said, playing along. He stepped closer to Park Min, as if to speak more privately. The moment he was within reach, Han moved. His enhanced reflexes gave him speed no Terrell could match. He struck Park Min hard enough to stun but not kill him. Before the guards could fire, Han had grabbed Park Min and was using him as a shield. "Drop your weapons," Han ordered the guards. They hesitated, then slowly put their weapons down. "Now, where is Kim Ju really being held?" Han demanded. Park Min coughed, still dazed from the blow. "Detention level. Cell 12. And Lee Song." Park Min's eyes widened slightly. "The engineer. We don't." "Don't lie," Han said, tightening his grip. "I know you've arrested him too." "Cell 14. Park Min gasped. "But you'll never reach them. The station is already on alert." Han knew he was right. The original escape plan was now impossible, but he couldn't leave Kim Ju and Lee Song behind. "You've changed everything," he told Park Min. "Now I have to improvise." With quick, efficient movements, Han tied up Park Min and the guards using bedsheets torn into strips. He took their weapons and communication devices. "The clones," Park Min said as Han prepared to leave. "They're already being grown. You can't stop the program." Han paused at the door. "Watch me." The corridors were eerily quiet as Han moved through the station. The alarm hadn't been raised yet. Park Min must have wanted to capture him quietly. That gave Han a small advantage, but not for long. As he headed toward the detention level, Han knew his chances of success were slim. But it didn't matter. Kim Ju and Lee Song had risked everything to help him. He wouldn't abandon them. For the first time since awakening in the Terrell laboratory, Han felt completely human. Not because of weakness or fear, but because of loyalty. Because he was willing to risk his life for his friends. That, he realized, was what the Terrell could never understand. And it was why, despite their advanced technology and careful planning, they would ultimately fail. Red lights flashed through the corridors of Nexus 7. A voice boomed over the speakers. "Alert. Specimen K1 has escaped. All security to detention level." Han pressed himself against the wall as a group of guards ran past. He had changed into a maintenance uniform taken from a storage closet. It wouldn't fool anyone looking closely, but it helped him blend in during the chaos. The detention level was 2 floors down. Han knew he had to hurry. Once they discovered Park Min tied up in his quarters, security would tighten everywhere. Han entered a service lift used by maintenance workers. A young Terrell was already inside, his eyes wide with fear at the alarms. "What's happening?" the worker asked. "The human specimen escaped," Han said calmly. "They need maintenance in the detention level. Something about the door locks." The worker nodded, not looking too closely at Han's face. "This is crazy. I heard that human was dangerous." "Very dangerous," Han agreed as the lift descended. When the doors opened at the detention level, Han thanked the worker and stepped out. The corridor was surprisingly empty. Most of the guards had probably been sent to search other areas. Cell 12 was halfway down the corridor. Han approached cautiously, weapon ready. One guard stood outside the door, looking nervous. Han didn't want to hurt anyone if he could avoid it. He called out, "Emergency maintenance. We need to check all cell locks." The guard turned, confused. "I don't have orders about." Han moved quickly, striking the guard with the stun setting on his weapon. The guard collapsed without a sound. Han took his security card and opened Cell 12. Kim Ju sat on a small bench inside. Her face brightened when she saw Han. "You came," she said, standing quickly. "Of course," Han replied. "We need to get Lee Song and then reach the hangar." They hurried to Cell 14. Lee Song was there, looking battered but alive. He had been questioned more forcefully than Kim Ju. "Can you walk?" Han asked. Lee Song nodded. "I can do more than walk. I can still fly a ship if we reach one." "First, we need to create a distraction," Han said. "Something big enough to clear the path to the hangar." Kim Ju thought for a moment. "The cloning facility. It's on the way." If we could damage it. Not just damage it, Han said. Destroy it. They can't be allowed to create an army. Li Song pulled himself up straighter. I know how. The growth chambers have their own power supply. If we overload it, the whole section would be evacuated. Let's move, Han said. We don't have much time. The three moved through service corridors, avoiding the main hallways where guards were searching. They reached the cloning facility without being spotted. Inside, rows of large tubes filled with blue liquid stood ready. Small, half-formed bodies floated inside some of them. Han felt sick looking at them. These would have been his brothers, slaves created for war. Li Song moved to a control panel. I need a few minutes. We'll watch the door, Han said. While Li Song worked, Kim Ju touched Han's arm. What happens if we make it? Where will we go? Somewhere they can't find us, Han said. Then we warn Earth. I can never go back to my people, Kim Ju said quietly. Han looked at her. You'll have a place with me. Suddenly, alarms blared. Li Song called out. It's done. We have 10 minutes before the power overloads. They rushed out just as a voice announced. Emergency in cloning sector. All personnel evacuate immediately. The corridors filled with panicked scientists and workers heading away from the cloning facility. Han, Kim Ju, and Li Song joined the crowd, moving with them at first, then breaking away toward the hangar. The hangar was chaotic too. Pilots and engineers prepared ships in case the station needed to be evacuated. In the confusion, no one noticed the three figures heading for a small research vessel in the corner. That's our ship, Li Song said. I prepared it yesterday. They were halfway to the ship when a cold voice called out, Stop right there. Han turned. General Vos stood 20 meters away, flanked by elite guards. All had weapons pointed at the three escapees. Did you really think you could escape from me? Vos asked. Han stepped forward, positioning himself between his friends and the weapons. Actually, he said, I was counting on it. The cloning facility exploded behind them, shaking the entire station.